So let's now see how we can serve uploaded files. Let me create a new template for this, and I'll name it userprofiles.html. Name is up to you. And I'll create a blank skeleton here with a title of user profiles. And again, I won't add any specific styling here because it's really just about the functionality here, not about making this as pretty as possible. Now here my goal is to output a unordered list of all the user profiles, which in this case means a list of all the images, since a user profile in our case is just an image. So now we need a view that fetches all those user profiles and exposes them to that template. And for this, of course, we can create a new class here in our views.py file and name this profiles view. And here we could base this on the base view and write everything on our own, or again, import from Django, views, generic, and import the list view there. Then I inherit the list view, or from the list view here, because of course I want to fetch all the entries for a given model. Hence we add the model key here and point at the user profile model, and I'll define the template, which in my case is in the profiles folder, the user_profiles HTML file. So that's the template which should be rendered for the fetched user profile data. I also want to make sure that my context object name is profiles instead of object list, which would be the default, and we're almost good to go. We just need to add a URL now, and here I'll add a path where I say list, and then I want to target my profiles view as a view here and render this view for /profiles/list. And that will then fetch me all the profiles and expose them under the name profiles in the template. So back in the template, here in the unordered list, we can loop through all the profile in profiles. That's that key name I just specified in the view class, and end the for block here. And then in the list items, I'll just add a image tag where I want to render these images. And now the question is, what should we add here? If it would be a static file, we could use static and then a path at the file. Now it's kind of static, it is an image, it's not a template, it's not Python code, but it's also not one of our predefined static files. Now thankfully, we don't need to make it that complex. All those files managed by our models through the file field or image field will have a specific property we can drill into on our model field. So here, profile will of course refer to an instance of our user profile model. And therefore there we have the image field. So we have profile.image here. Now on that image, we can drill into things like the path or also the URL. The path would be wrong here because that's a file system path, which is nice to have if we run some Python code on our server. But here, if we want to define a URL that should be loaded by the browser, keep in mind we're defining the source for an image tag, so this has to be something the browser can reach. Then we don't want a path on the file system on the server, which is not accessible by the browser. It shouldn't be for security reasons, but we want to have a URL which points at this file specifically. And that's why Django gives us a URL field on the files stored through a file field or image field in our models. So therefore, that's what we can add in our template to get hold of that specific uploaded file. So if we now save all our files again and we visit profiles/list, we get a bunch of images there, but clearly not our uploaded images. Instead, some placeholders. Now it does have a URL here, but it fails to fetch them, fails to load resource. the server responded with a status of 404. So something is missing here. We're not able to serve those files.